Good morning. My name is Talmadge Heflin. I'm the director of the Center for Fiscal Policy at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, nonpartisan think tank located here in Austin. We're pleased to see, and I'm testifying for, SJR 2 and SB 9. We're pleased to see some progress attempted to be made, or some improvement to be made on our spending limit. First of all, let me point out a couple of things that we think need improving. That is that the current limit only includes about 40% of the budget. It is a subjective measure when you start estimating what the personal income growth will be for the next 2 years. It's a point of, if you look at what was submitted to the LBB for their adoption, you can see that it's a wide range, and it's relatively easy to break the cap since it only takes a majority vote of both bodies to do that. If you look back at from 2004 to 2015, including 16 and 17, we're likely to see an increase of about 64%, according to our calculations. This increase is higher than the 45% increase of compounded population growth plus inflation for the same period. We like the idea that the looking back 2 years rather than forward gives you data that is good data, and we like the idea that it includes all of the budget, and then it takes 3/5 of both bodies to increase it. We would like to see the lesser of personal income growth, population plus inflation, or gross state product, whichever is less, for times when we may see higher inflation come back around. With that, I'll restate, we're in support of SJR 2 and SB 9, and be glad to respond to any questions.
Senator Betancourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Talmadge, I just wanted to make sure I got the stats because I don't see any written testimony. You said that over a period of time you had a 45% population and inflation growth versus a 60%. Just want to make sure I knew the years that they were bracketed.
2004 through the current budget that's being adopted are what we project that might come out to be. So those numbers could change a bit depending on what you adopt for this session.
Sure. So it's 45% population inflation growth over the 10 years, and then a 60 exactly?
64%.
Okay. Thank you, Talmadge. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you, Ms. Denham.
It took me a while to kind of get my question. This is for Talmadge, I guess. And by the way, thank you for your many years of service to the state.
Thank you.
First in the legislature, and you're still trying to make things better.
Well, thanks.
You heard the discussion about the rate of inflation, and I guess I was just assuming that it was consumer price index, and then when the LBB was up here, we talked about inflation, different types of inflation. And then Senator Hancock pointed out that he didn't point at one. It was not consumer price index, but instead it says the LBB would have to establish the rate of inflation in the state during the current biennium as a percentage. What kind of inflation factor did you have in your mind?
Well, in calculating ours, we use a CPI. Consumer price index, because it's the most commonly known and used, and we too are looking at the individual's ability to pay and not just what government might spend on. We understand some prices increase more than others, but we consistently use a CPI in our calculations. Now, the senators being very insightful, probably, of what some of the questions that might be coming, and rather than trying to use a national index, I think was looking at saying, okay, LBB, come up with something that applies to the state. We support his bill, but I will go back and say in all of our calculation, we use consumer price index.